The military-industrial complex was at a standstill by the 1960s. Procurement was backlogged, and training systems were delivered late and over budget. Influenced by the Naval Training Device Center, located in Orlando, Florida, a workshop was called in 1966 to provide a unique opportunity for an important community.
It was the Naval Training Device Center Industry Conference at the time. It was held in an old World War II conference facility. We had 49 companies there. We had 193 people attend with about 25 papers delivered. It was called by Dr. Hans Wolf, who was our technical director at the time.
And he felt that a workshop conference would be the opportunity to bring the sponsors down to Orlando and let them see industry and the government working together to make the best product.
Most of the people were with the military or with civilians that were working for the government. Very few people from industry attended because there was only about 4 or 5 different companies that were providing trainers for the Navy at that time.
So out of the first conference came an appreciation for each other's problems and the willingness to work together to solve those problems and to build on that conference for future conferences.
Bringing them to the conference is extremely important. You bring the engineers to listen to the papers and see what's new technically and what they can glean from that for the procurement specifications that they prepare.
And so what started out as simply a problem discussion came to be much greater than that, to include the exhibits, the technology, the innovation.
If you take a look at where we were and where we are now, there's no one that could even dream about the history that we started out with such a small group and with very small training devices. And look where we are today with the training systems that we have for all the services.
When we started this first conference, and a few conferences thereafter, we used all government individuals to do all the committee work, the program planning, all the logistics that went into putting on a conference. Then we realized it outstripped our requirements, so it was decided after a few conferences that it should be turned over to an industry body to handle all of that.
It's had quite an evolution as we've progressed since 1966 and more specifically 79 when we became multi-service.
Over the years, the conference name has changed from the Naval Training Device Center and Industry Conference to the Naval Training Equipment Center and Industry Conference to the Inter-Service Industry Training Equipment Conference, or ITEC. The name of the conference continued to change to reflect the growth and changes of the industry, particularly as digital computer technology grew more and more sophisticated.
I was the chairman of the 3rd conference that they had. The conference at that point had less than 500 attendees. So you can see we were one of the embryos of the ITSEC that exists now.
Now, ITSEC is organized by NTSA, the National Training and Simulation Association, the professional association dedicated to promoting international and interdisciplinary cooperation within the fields of modeling and simulation.
It's now 500 exhibitors and a top 200 trade show. Outside of that, it's also started with 300 attendees, and at our peak it's been 20,000.
Well, besides being the largest training and simulation gathering of exhibitors in the world, it's also a platform for the presentation of quality peer-reviewed papers.
So ITSEC, in my perception, is both a barometer and a compass for the modeling and simulation industry. The exhibits on the floor, the papers that are delivered, all are reflective of today's industry and tomorrow's technology and the innovation that we see.
At the heart of the training and simulation industry is Team Orlando, a unique alliance of U.S. military modeling and simulation training commands that are supported by several hundred companies and academic leaders in the Orlando area.
It's a place where all of our major military simulation customers have their training commands headquartered.
Since the 1990s, the training and simulation industry has expanded, leading to the growth of many military applications in simulation training and creating the need for a bigger and better ITSEC.
The expansion of ITSEC has been inspired by need if there's a requirement. And when you're at war, you want to have the kinds of equipments out there, the best that you can find on the planet, to train the young kids that are out at the pointy end of the spear, make sure that they're up to speed in how to use the weapons and systems that they're provided to do their jobs.
I recall that the first 2 or 3 ITSECs that I attended was during the Gulf War. And at that point, emphasis was on platform training technology. It was on virtual training in virtual environments. For obvious reasons, we were training to be at war and conduct ourselves.
ITSEC is really important for the warfighter and what they do because it allows them to see all of the different training tools that are out there to them. And not only see and try them, but provide their firsthand feedback because it's what they're going to be used to train and depend on for when they are in a real-life scenario.
The user, whether he's a grunt in the infantry or the pilot, comes back and participates in the warfighter's corner and is not very hesitant to tell you how well the training equipment works.
The warfighter is ultimately our requirements guy, and so we need to be able to meet his needs to be able to do his job better.
At the end of the day, it's protecting our warfighter.